everybody, Angie here, back with another episode of Vow Triumph. Welcome to episode 5, For Better or Worse, where we talk about what worse looks like in your relationship, the word or, and ways to overcome a bad situation. Stick around if you want triumph in your vows.
To be my wedded wife,
To be my wedded husband,
to have,
to hold,
from this day forward, for better
or worse,
for richer
or poorer,
in sickness,
and in health,
till death do us
part, according to God's holy ordinance. I pledge thee my faith and myself to you. Hey everybody, it is Angie here, and welcome to episode 5 for Better or Worse. We are halfway through the series, and I'm so thankful for all of you for sticking it out with me. Like I said in the intro, today's episode, we're talking about for better or worse. Now, I'm not going to talk about for better because we all know what better days look like. It's joy, it's peace, it's happiness, and we all want to stay there. But unfortunately, worse does happen. Bad days do happen. Trials do happen. Negativity sometimes creeps in. And I think it's more important that we focus on the worst part of the vow than the better part of the vow. A lot of the times we look at relationships and we think worse and we think the big things like infidelity, financial stress, addiction and mental illness, bad habits, sex issues. But there are other bad things that happen in relationships, the small things that people don't think about, like passive aggressive behavior, bad attitudes, no emotional support, lack of communication, all of that, no respect in your relationship, no boundaries. All those little things can add up to worse and lead to the bigger things such as infidelity and bad habits and addiction and financial stress. So if you know me, you've been following me on social media, if you know me personally, you know I'm all about preventative maintenance. How do we prevent getting there, or at least kind of minimize it a little bit? And one thing with for worse, when it happens in your life, when it happens, I'm not saying if, because everybody has bad days. I said this in the last episode and I'll say it again. Do not be fooled by what people tell you. All relationships go through trials and tribulations. Now, they may not be as big as yours, and yours may not be as big as mine, but we all go through them, we all have them. And the first thing that I feel like is important when you're trying to overcome adversity or overcome worse in your relationship is you first must want to overcome. If you do not want to overcome the relationship in your mind, you're not going to be willing to put in the effort and time to make it work. That starts with how committed you are to your spouse and to the relationship as a whole. If you're not fully committed to the relationship, if your desire is not fully to nourishing and flourishing the relationship, you're not going to be committed to the relationship, and you're also not going to want to put in the effort to make it work. Effort is so important because in order to get to the longevity, like we talked before, you have to continuously work at it. You have to continuously be committed. You have to continuously be dedicated. You have to want that. You have to want the success for your relationship. If you don't want success in your relationship will not make it. There's no point of even trying to manage your adversity. There's no point in even going to counseling, talking to somebody. There's just no point in it. You have to want it for yourself. You have to want to make it work. And that brings me into my next point of positivity, optimism, hopefulness. Hope is so important in maintaining a relationship and maintaining longevity in your relationship. When worse days come, you have to be hopeful that it won't last. You have to be hopeful that better days are coming. When my husband and I were going through financial stress, as you'll see in the next episode next week, we were hopeful that this would not always be like this. We were hopeful that this is not the ending. This is our how we're starting out right now. We didn't start out how we, ended up, but how we are right now is not going to be forever. We're not going to be living in hotels all for the rest of our lives. We're not going to be financially poor for the rest of our lives. Like, there are better days coming. Optimism. Be optimistic about the success of your relationship. If you feel like you're never going to get out of a bad situation, guess what? You're never going to be out of that bad situation. And I talked about this on one of my Motivational Monday speeches about remaining positive. And you'll hear me, anytime you hear me speak, you will always hear me talk about positivity and why God showed me positivity. And I always practice it and I always preach it. Positivity is just... it's essential to have. If you don't have a positive mindset, if you don't have positive thoughts, you will not have positive actions. I think I talked about this before, where you will start to look different, you will start to act different, you will not be who you are truly meant to be, focused on being negative all the time and being stuck in a place of negativity and despair and anguish. That's not a good place to be. Be optimistic. Be hopeful that this won't last, because the Bible does tell us troubles do not last always. Joy comes in the morning. That's what the word says. So just remember that. Just because you're in this low valley now, or you're trying to get over this high mountain, doesn't mean that you're always going to be there. These situations that we go through, they are preparing us. They are showing us our strength. It's showing us how strong we are. And most importantly, they're really showing us who we serve. We serve an almighty God. We serve an all-knowing God. We serve a strong God who can deliver us out of anything. So be hopeful. Be mindful of that. Another thing I want to talk about, so important, forgiveness. I talk about this in the book that comes out after this series. Get excited. It's so important to have forgiveness in your relationship. Let it go. It is not that important. It is not, if it's not going to benefit your relationship and the success of your relationship, if it's not relevant to what's happening in the current and present day, let it go. Forgive your partner. Forgiveness is not for in a marriage. I want to say forgiveness is not for you. It's not for your part. It's for the betterment of the relationship. It's to move the relationship forward. It's to progress and help your relationship flourish. When you stay stuck in unforgiveness, do you know how much that weighs down on you as a person? That's being in the negative. When you are unable to forgive your partner, and you're always harping on a situation and bringing up old stuff and talking about things that have nothing to do with right now, that has nothing to do with today, the current state that we're in. Let it go. Last thing I want to talk about is something that's important to me is when you're in a situation of, let's say, an argument, a misunderstanding, a mishap, something not as big as infidelity or mental illness or drug abuse or whatever the case may be. If you're in something small like that, always call a time out. Do not be afraid to call a timeout. And I love to walk away from situations that I feel could be boiling up. There's nothing wrong with doing that. That's preventing something bigger. That's preventing low blows. That's preventing name calling. That's preventing saying something that you don't mean. Because I can tell you, I have been there where I have said some things that I did not mean, and they come back. People will remember what you say, especially if it's hurtful. So you have to be, if you feel that you are getting to that boiling point, there is nothing wrong with walking out of the situation and saying, you know what, I need a minute. Give me a timeout. Let me breathe. Let me get my thoughts together. Let me think about what you're saying. Let me meditate on what you're saying. Maybe I don't agree with it right now, but if I really sit back and think about it, I will agree with it. So call a timeout if you have to. I just want people to understand that adversity comes up in relationships. And these things that I talk about here are just scratching the surface of what you can do. I would be sitting here all night talking about what you can do to overcome adversity. I just wanted to touch on these as far as about being positive, being hopeful in your relationship, actually wanting it, because that's where it starts. Also, forgiveness, which plays a key role in it. A lot of the times, and the reason why I love to talk about forgiveness is because a lot of the times we'll still be talking about a situation as if it matters. If you truly move on from a situation, truly move on from the situation. Don't bring it back up. Don't bring new drama into today's new festivities. Don't do it. One thing that I want to make mention of is you say the vows for better or worse. Or is an alternative. For better or worse. That means you're going to stick around whether I have joy or whether I have despair. I'm going to stick around whether I'm happy or whether I'm sad. There is no I'm going to stick around if I'm happy, but if I get sad, I'm leaving. No, it's or. Understand or is an alternative, or worse, for better or worse. Just wanted to point that out so you understood exactly what you were saying when you get married, or if you're married, or if you're a newlywed and you're trying to understand your vows and you're going through a tough time. And I also want to give you all who are viewing this video some hope. Bad days are not always bad days. Hear me out with this. Worse brings about strength. It brings about good character in the end. It makes the relationship stronger. It brings you together as a couple. Think about when you're in the gym trying to build muscle. You have to go through intense training. Some kind of resistance is being put on you. It's kind of hard on your body. You may have to stay in there long. You may have to put a little bit more time. You may have to put a little bit more effort. You have to do things. You have to do a little bit things different, like change your diet and things of that sort. But it's all working out in the end. It's making you stronger. It's making you healthier. And that's what challenges and adversity brings in your relationship. It does nothing but make you stronger in the end. It makes you more connected. The only thing that you are required to do is hang on to see the benefit of that, to see the fruits of the labor. You have to be willing to ride or die no matter what. So I just wanted to give you some encouragement. We talk about bad days and tribulations and trials and all this stuff, but I wanted to give you encouragement to go forward in your relationship, to let you know that it is going to make you stronger. It's going to make you tighter. It's going to make you more together. And you will be able to get over those big mountains when you reach those big mountains. You will get over those. You just have to climb over those small hurdles before you can jump over the big ones. So just remember that when you're going through your situation, your bad situation, your trials or your tribulations or whatever bad happens in your relationship, hold on and you will be able to endure to the end. I want you all to remember that Christ is at the center of everything. He's at the center of your life, and he is at the center of your relationship. There is nothing too hard for him, and there is nothing that he cannot fix. When you are going through your bad times, remember that no matter what, he is right there. Even when he seems far, he is right there. And remember his word when it says, rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, and continue in prayer. God bless, and I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Tune in next week as we talk about For Richer or For Poorer. My husband will be here as a special guest. We have some special footage letting you know all that we went through in our vows for richer or poorer. So thank you so much.